Yeah, I don't want to keep talking too much before we start recording because all the good jokes are gonna get out of us, and then we're gonna start the show and we're gonna have no jokes left to tell, and it's just going to be complete and utter silence. So we'll get started before we run out of jokes. On that note, I am recording. You're recording, or you're not recording yet. You have to wait for me to count you down. Okay, 3, 2, 1, record.
And let me just say that right now, I have 3 monitors in front of me because I'm at home. And my eventual goal is to have an entire wall of my apartment just covered in monitors. Because I don't know, it's 2017 and science fiction has told me that I need a wall just covered in monitors. So right now I have 3 monitors. Right now Audacity is 1 monitor. And then I have like Tumblr and Twitter and another monitor. And in the third monitor I have a 10-hour loop from YouTube of a fireplace.
You know, reminds me of, we're going to get into this as a topic later, but to just sort of draw out a joke here, there's a scene in Little Witch Academia, the anime that's currently airing in the year of our Lord.
God bless the Emperor of mankind,
where Fafnir, the great dragon, comes to collect on his debts from the school. That's the main setting of Little Witch Academia, and they get to his house, and you find out that modern dragons don't hoard gold anymore. They don't sit on piles of treasure. They don't steal stuff from people and keep it in these large piles in their caves. They actually now all just have man caves, which are tiny rooms with like 9 television screens, a high power computer for stock trading.
Let me just say right now, that actually lines in very quickly, because I know with our current schedule, we're recording these episodes like the way we record these episodes is record them 2 weeks ahead of when they get posted. Yeah, it depends on what's going on in our lives, but we were sticking to the schedule of posting a new episode on Sunday, which works out because not very many podcasts post on Sunday. So you have something if you're that thirsty for podcasts, then you got something. Then you can lick our tip on Sunday, because I know nobody posts a new podcast on Sunday except us. So just poke our little tip right there. Yeah, that feels
just
nice.
saying.
That feels nice.
Just saying.
Well, what am I doing? We're a family friendly podcast.
Wait, I just remembered. So in our show notes, which by the way we have posted, we will post them in the YouTube comment or the YouTube description. We'll also post these alongside all of our posts on social media. I just remembered just now that I added a section to our show notes called Meta Stuff, and by default on every show notes that we have for every episodes, it will always begin with "Don't forget to introduce yourself and say the name and episode number of the podcast." And I just realized we forgot to do that.
To show you how much of a fucking weeboo neat I am, my throat was caught with a bit of rice in it because I don't know where I was going with that joke, but anyway. My name is Mdefmek, though I currently go by the alias Wyodak or Dumpster.moe, depending on whatever social fucking media I'm on. I can't keep track of all that shit. You know, it's like fucking, there's like Donald fucking Trump, the president of the United States, whether you like it or not, fucking rants on Twitter. So fuck it. I have like 40 different pseudonyms on whatever social media there is. I don't even know what all there is. So mdefmix/wildack. There you go.
And I continue to refer to him as MDefmech because that's just the name I know him by. And I am M Bullshit, the other half of this shit show. Maybe one day it'll be a third if we remember to contact the guy who used to actually be an official co-host.
Yeah, what the fuck?
We always forget.
What was it, like Pat
Whatever
or
his
something?
name was.
Yeah, because it was like, okay, so here's the thing that happened.
No, I'm not talking about Pat, dude. That's old ass.
Okay.
That's old ass. I'm talking about him.
Oh, dude.
We need to call
dude,
Henry,
like,
dude.
I fucking had like a mental breakdown like a month ago, and I ranted to him just out of the blue on Steam, and I think he blocked me because I just sounded like an insane fucking maniac to him. And Hammy, if you're listening to this right now, I am so fucking sorry.
Anyways, I'm in bullshit. He's MDefmech, and thank you for listening to this.
You know what? Hey, hang on.
FAPcast,
Okay, shut
the
up.
Fucking amazing
shut
podcast.
Up, dude. I love you, but shut up. Let me just say something right now. This goes out to Unknown Entity 1992 and Switchboard 505. You guys have been following me since before I started podcasting. No matter what, through all of the blogs I've created, through all of the bullshits, through all of the fucking drama, you guys have followed me and liked my posts and just you guys have been there. So to Unknown Entity 1992 and Switchboard 505, thank you for being there since before the beginning. I know this is really weird to give shout outs at the beginning of a fucking podcast, but thank you guys. You know, whenever I see you guys like a post I've make, it really makes me feel good. So thank you.
So, you know, and to those of you who like those who have been following us, I will say this from the fucking amazing podcast.
And we need to make a title right now. So we're both on the fucking spot for a title for episode 4. So let me just say, welcome to episode 4. Here's all the weeb shit we've been watching, and here's some fucking video games with underage or who look like underage video game characters that we may or may not be fapping to. Is that a good episode title? I don't know.
I didn't quite catch. I'm trying to type that right now. So here's all the weeb shit we've been watching, and here are some fucking video games with underage girls in them that people
yes,
might
that
be
is a perfect title
to.
for episode 4. fucking
in all
yes in fucking 30 words, 30-word podcast episodes. We are on the level of that one anime that came out during that film festival. What was it, like La 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 or something? It was the one with all the Evangelion figurines, and like the dude is like a fucking hikikomori, and like an anime character comes to life and comes in his mouth or something. Hang on, let me look this up, because I know what I'm saying is completely accurate, but I don't have the name to it yet. let me go over to Douchebag Chocolate's YouTube channel, which, you know, this isn't cool shit, but you should totally be following Douchebag Chocolate. He makes good video game reviews. Or not video game reviews. I mean anime reviews. God damn it. And bullshit. You should check me on that.
And while he's looking that up and fact checking himself, I'm gonna get the rest of our meta stuff out of the way here. So yes, little ticked off here. We remembered to say the name in the episode, the name of the podcast. The episode introduce yourself. And the next bit of meta stuff here, I wrote down our plans for formatting and posting our podcast. We will actually, as of the recording of this podcast, the day that we record this is episode 4, we will actually be posting episode 1. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a buffer here. Eventually, we'll probably let that catch up once we're more comfortable at, regularly recording and all that stuff. For now, as we said before, we will primarily be on YouTube. I personally am working on a way to get all of our stuff file hosted. But for the foreseeable future, we will not be using a podcast hosting service like Podbean or Podbay or anything like that. We will not be using those. The main reason for us deciding not to use that is because we want to make sure that, we still have people who will listen to our podcast before we decide to start out-of-pocket paying for hosting. That said, I'm going to be searching out some free file hosting myself, and MDefMech is going to be working out all of our stuff for the YouTube channel. I'm also taking it upon myself to do all of our show notes for the both of us every week because I actually like that kind of organizational stuff now, and it's fun.
Regardless of whether you like it or not, like YouTube is becoming a fundamental factor in podcasting right now because there are YouTube apps everywhere, and it's so easy just to follow someone on YouTube. So it's like, legit podcast is a very specific definition, but you can get away with doing it on YouTube. By the way, the anime I was talking about was Me. That Yeah.
Oh, the music video.
That is a
That's right.
Brilliant piece of art. I mean, even with the fact that it just loops itself, because it shows that, the otaku / neat lifestyle is just never ending. It just never stops. You're a fucking loser your entire goddamn life. So fuck it. Just fucking die. I'm sorry. I'm not telling our beloved podcast listeners, please don't kill yourself. Just die like everybody else when you're old and alone. Please, and bullshit, help me.
No, I'm just going to let that one hang there for a few moments.
Okay, here's something I want to talk about. In our meta shit, because this is some I think needs to be talked about right now, because I discovered both of this shit when I went out this morning with my friend, because he messaged me at 2:00 in the morning and was, okay, here, I got a story to tell. Fucking sit your ass down. I got the fireplace, the 10-hour YouTube video of a fireplace playing on the monitor right now. So sit your ass down in front of the fireplace, because I got a story to tell you. So one of my friends, one of my local friends, he was just like, "Hey, dude, we should go out and get coffee in the morning, because we haven't sat down and had coffee and chatted about life and shit." So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do that. So he fucking comes over to my apartment building at fucking 6:00 in the morning and is ringing my doorbell, which I'm like, holy shit, fuck you, dude. Anyway, so I get up, we go and get coffee and shit, and we chat and we have breakfast and it's all good and shit. And two things happen. First of all, we go to Walmart because he needs to pick something up at Walmart. So we go to Walmart, and I pick up a box of Smuckers, because I'm just like wandering around Walmart, because that's just what I do. And I think that's what most people do. It's just they just go into Walmart and they get the one thing they need, and then they just wander around for an hour. So I'm wandering around, and I pick up a box of Smuckers Uncrustable peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Those little pods of those little sandwich pods. I picked those up, and then we're like, okay, I'm gonna go do what I want to do. So I go over to a local Eastern European grocery store, because they sell all the candy that is not sold in regular grocery stores. So I go and pick up some candy, and what they have is cans of of this drink I used to drink all the time when I was living in Germany, when my family was deployed in Germany during the Cold War. And it's this soda called Mezzomix, Mezzomix, Mezzomix. And let me just say, both of these things, Smucker's Uncrustables and Mezzomix, are both items you can easily make at home. Because I'm sure you know, Ben, or in Bullshit, that Smucker's Uncrustables are just basically peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's all they are.
Yeah, they're just presented in a unique
and Mezzomix
shape.
Is a German. I don't want to say Germany because it's also popular in Austria and Switzerland, so it's more of a German culture soda. And what it is it's a mix of Coca-Cola and Fanta. It's about a 50-50 mix. And the reason Mezzomix was created was because I'm sure as most people know, when Coca-Cola of Germany was basically shut off from the larger Coca-Cola company because of World War II, because they were in Nazi Germany, they had to come up with their own drinks, and so they came up with the Fanta. Yes, Fanta was invented by Nazis. Fanta is a Nazi drink. So if you're part of Antifa, you better not be drinking Fanta because you're going to get fucking pepper sprayed by your own brothers. And also fuck Antifa. So the way Mezzomix was created was right after the war, the German Coca-Cola company reconnected with the larger Coca-Cola company, but they still couldn't get access to a lot of the syrup and all the resources that the larger Coca-Cola company had. So what they did was they mixed Fanta with Coca-Cola and they made Mezzomix. And you can make this on your own. You can get yourself a bottle of Fanta and a bottle of Coke and mix it yourself. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because, like Smucker's Uncrustables, they have focus tested and researched and figured out the perfect balance of ingredients to make the perfect drink. Because yes, you can make Mezzomix on your own, but it will never be the true Mezzomix, because if you drink a can of Mezzomix, it's very subtle. You get a slight hint of Coca-Cola and a slight hint of Fanta, and it just blends so perfectly. And it's the same with Smucker's Uncrustables, where it's like you get the right ratio of peanut butter to jelly to bread, and it's just the nearest to perfect breakfast sandwich. Or not breakfast sandwich, I mean just fucking sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it's like, the reason I'm saying all of this is that, yes, for the longest time I had a I hated Uncrustables. Like I knew Uncrustables existed, but I hated it because it's like, this is the true form of capitalism. This just shows the arrogance and the faults of capitalism. It's like it's presenting a product that you can easily make at home, but they're selling it to you at a vastly overpriced price. But it's like, if you actually try it, it's the closest to a perfect sandwich you can ever have. The closest, it's like the ideal default benchmark peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's what it is. And the same with Mezzomix. It's like the perfect mix of Coca-Cola and Fanta. I don't know where I was going with this. I just wanted to rant about this. So I've done that. And Bullshit, please save me. And Bullshit, help me.
I was just gonna let.
I'm talking about fucking grocery items that you can buy in the fucking store.
I was just gonna let that hang there for people to digest what you've just said.
Well, let me just say, if you have a World Market in your town, go check it out, because they're selling cans of Mezzomix for about $1.20, and I encourage anyone who has access to a world market to go try Mezzomix, because it's something you've got to try out. You fuckers in Germany, and I know I'm German. I was born in Germany, so I know all about Mezzomix. You fuckers in Germany and Austria and Switzerland have a fucking treasure on your hands. And goddamn it, I wish Coca-Cola would release Mezzomix in America, because it's fucking delicious. That's your homework. Go find a fucking world market and buy a can of Mezzomix and try it out, and let me know what you think of it. Tell us in the comments.
Send us a note. And do you remember that you can always send us notes either through Tumblr or in the comments section of our YouTube channel. Speaking of food,
yes,
I have a bottle of shoestring potatoes here tonight, and that's what I'm going to be eating on. So if you hear chewing and sounds like this, shit.
Wait. You guys explain.
It's not me making an ASMR video. It's me actually fucking eating potatoes.
Dude, I just realized when I get drunk, most of my videos are ASMR, because it's just me. When I get drunk, my face is just. It's like it's like the mic is just a giant cock, and I'm just rubbing it against my face. And it's like, where was I going with that? Yeah, guys, I'm gay. Well, I'm not gay. I'm bisexual. So fucking deal with that. You're just gonna let me fucking talk, aren't you?
I'm not going to. I'm just gonna let you say things, and I'm just gonna pause and let them hang there.
Yeah. So let me just say, yeah. I just had a realization that most of my videos are ASMR, because when I get drunk, I just put my face just right on that fucking microphone. I'm just like, my face is just like rubbing up against that microphone like it was a giant cock. Just a big juicy cock, and I don't want to put it all in my mouth. I just want to just lick the tip and just let it come a little bit. And yeah, I'm bisexual, by the way. I'm not full gay, I'm just bisexual. I like tits as well. So please, and bullshit, say something.
So with that riveting conversation, let's move into our main topic here, where MDefmic actually has more things this week than I do. Unacceptable.
Yeah, for some reason, I was more prepared than you are, because, like I said in a previous episode, I'm a fucking idiot. And I've said that.
Previously, we had planned on meeting at 7, and then you called me at 5:50, and then at about 6:15, we're like, hey, let's record. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I don't have everything together yet. Let me just get my show notes out.
Well, yeah, because it's like, I started drinking at 6. So it's like, well, let's just let this fucking train. Well, the train's already fucking left the station. We better fucking do something about that. One of these days,
what we're gonna have to do is here's before we get into our main topic, I just want to make a suggestion here. I think that at no point during the podcast should both of us be intoxicated, but that said, I do think we should do an episode or two where I'm the one who's drunk.
I think that will only be fair.
I think just in the pursuit of equality, fairness, and balance, I think we should do an episode or two where you are the one who is sober and I am the one who is drunk.
Yeah, because I already know how much of a handful I am when I'm drunk. I'm basically just a giant child. And I know that's a lot. That's a big burden on you right now. And I'm totally aware that's a big burden, but, you know, maybe we'll see. And the thing about that is, I'm pretty sure even if you were just fucking smashed, you would be way more responsible than I am.
I do not doubt that.
Yeah, because I'm the guy who just is like pissing on an electric fence just because it's there. I need an adult. I just need a fucking adult. Anyway, what we were talking about?
We were talking about moving on to our main topic, where you inexplicably have more things to talk about, or had more suggestions and weigh in for this week's topic than I did. Not necessarily a historic first, but something that is actually somewhat rare.
Well, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. You know, one of them is just gonna be mostly about how her pantyhose is just tight enough to where her leg thighs. Wait, that's not a word. Her thigh fat just bulges out just right, because that's totally a thing in that fucking game. And you know what fucking game I'm talking about.
Before we get to that game, let's get on with your first topic here that you suggested, which is a not necessarily an in-review, but at the time of this recording, it is currently the very beginning of March, and we are more or less about a good amount of time through the 2017 winter anime season.
The 2017 winter anime season. Yeah,
and so both of us have been watching some anime this season. I more than you, of course. That's nothing new.
And it's nothing to do with our race. I mean, we all know that Indefinite is a fucking Jew, and Bullshit's the fucking whatever.
Don't tell me you forgot already.
You're Chinese.
Yes.
Chinese. You're not even Japanese.
No, I'm not.
You're not even Japanese. Why do you care about this shit? No, it's because you're a fan of it. That's why you care.
Yeah.
Yeah. You enjoy the weeb shit.
Anyways, so we're going to be doing a brief retrospect thus far on the 2017 winter anime season. We're going to talk a little bit about Nier Automata, which is going to be MDefMix subject, because I actually haven't played that yet. And then tonight I'm going to be talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, which as of the time of this recording has only been out for like less than a week. Not very long. Like 5 or 6 days.
So you've actually purchased it?
Oh, I have it.
Or you've played
it. I'm about 14 hours in.
Holy shit. Okay. So you definitely have something to say about it.
Yes, I have quite a bit to say about it. But first, we're going to talk about anime. So why don't you, MDefMix, start us off on what anime you're watching for this season? I believe you're only watching like 1 or 2 things, right?
Yeah, I'm currently only watching 2 things just because I made a personal goal for myself to. There's another YouTuber / fellow weeb reviewer called Douchebag Chocolate or Demolition D, and he's reviewed a ton of anime, and I've decided that all of the anime he has reviewed as good, I'm going to go ahead and just fucking watch. So hang on, I need to pull up his channel because I need to remember the fucking anime I've watched. Just give me a second here.
No, please take your
time. Oh god, there's a picture of his fucking sliced up hand. I didn't need to see that. So I have watched oh, did I click on the wrong fucking playlist? I think I have. Anyway, let me pick one that is not part of his list. Tanya the Evil.
Yes,
Evil.
You posted some videos from this one on your Tumblr, didn't you?
Yes, on my old Tumblr, not the Tumblr that I am currently updating, but on my old Tumblr, I've posted a couple clips. Now, Tanya the Evil is I don't know really how to describe it. It's it's okay. I guess the best way to describe it is to say that it's an anime that starts in modern day Japan, where the main character is this guy who his only job is to is to go into companies and perform their layoffs. So he's basically he's the most hated person in a company, because his primary job is to lay people off, to fire people. So he does his job, and he gets pushed in front of a mass transit train. And just before he gets hit by the train and dies, time stops, and he gets into an argument with God. And he gets into this argument with God, which lasts an entire episode. And God decides, well, I'm gonna make you believe in me, so I'm gonna put you into this alternate timeline. And he puts him into this alternate timeline where he's this little girl, and this little girl grows up and becomes a military officer, and becomes this brutally efficient and successful military officer in an alternate, not World War I, fighting for a nation that is not Germany. And a lot of the imagery from the anime shows itself to be very like Nazi-like, and it's not. I'm pretty sure they included a bunch of Nazi imagery to get people's attention, because that's what you fucking do, because you're making an anime and you want a lot of people to watch it, so you include the most titillating imagery in there as possible. But no, the nation she is fighting for is not Nazi-like at all. It's more Imperial Germany. But holy fuck, she is fucking brutal, because she has the mindset of a Japanese salaryman, and she is in World War I, not Germany. Because I showed you 2 clips of it, and she is fucking relentless and fucking brutal. And yeah, the anime's English title is called Tanya the Evil, and it's on Crunchyroll, but it's also on Kiss Anime, and you should totally check it out, because it's really fascinating. Because one of the parts I really like is that it's in that second clip I showed you where they're attacking an ammunition factory in not Romania, and in order to bypass the international laws on conduct, she presents herself as a actual 10-year-old girl, giving all the people in the ammunition factory the warning. And because she's a 10-year-old girl, they don't take her warning seriously, so when they attack the ammunition factory, they all fucking die. It's, she exploits a loophole, which is fucking brilliant and fucking evil as hell, which is why the anime is called Tanya the Evil, because that's what she does. Because her goal is to prove God wrong, and all of this, and all of that's what's going on in this anime. Her ultimate goal is to prove God wrong. So yeah, that's one anime I've been watching. So please, if you could, and bullshit, talk about another anime you've been watching, so I can collect my thoughts on the second anime.
I'm not going to talk about the one that you have. I'm actually not going to talk about all the anime I'm watching this season, because almost every season of anime usually amounts to I have watched at least 3 episodes of everything that is aired. And as that's just a personal rule of mine, I like doing that. So I'm actually watching quite a few anime this season, but I'm only going to talk about a few of them because there are only a few that I want to admit to the fact that I'm watching them. And the first is going to be Little Witch Academia, because is anybody really surprised that anybody is watching that show? Little Witch Academia, I have been waiting for the anime for this show ever since the very first OVA or short film came out, way back when Studio Trigger was just starting out. I fell in love with Little Witch Academia within the first 5 minutes of that short film. I happily helped them kickstart the movie. Was very impressed with the 50, 60-minute movie that they did, Little Witch Academia, The Enchanted Parade. And I was so happy when they finally officially announced that they had been greenlit to do a television series. And what a television series it has been. In relation to the two short films, it is neither a sequel or prequel to the short films. It's sort of like they're rebooting the franchise. Little Witch Academia, the TV show, tells ostensibly the complete story of how the main character came to the witch school and how she met her two friends, Lot and Sushi, and it's just sort of a proper show, of which the two short films are like a proof of concept for. That said, they do frequently reference stuff that happens in the two short films, but I don't think that they're going to really connect them that much to the short films. Little Witch Academia is a testament to the idea that you don't need ecchi to make a show about an all-girl cast interesting. I think that's a pitfall that we often fall into in anime, and it's a pitfall that a lot of people fall into when it comes to producing female characters in any medium. Little Witch Academia has some of the most conservative costuming, like, ever for a show about a cast of only girls. And it's got a wonderful style. It's got really detailed backgrounds and is very clearly inspired by, things like Harry Potter, also things like JRPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of stuff like that. Are you okay, man? You're hiccuping a bit.
I'm hiccuping a lot. I'm sorry about that. Don't worry, I'll be okay. Yeah, you're just gonna hear a squeak from me every couple seconds.
So that's one thing I'm watching, Little Witch Academia. It's by Studio Trigger. It started airing this winter 2017 season. And if you don't know what Little Witch Academia is, like, if you miss those two short films, like, you have a lot of catching up to do. Google it. I can guarantee you'll love it.
Well, it's a lot of catching up, but it's only... Time-wise, you're only going to spend at most, 3 hours.
Not even, 2 hours. Like an hour and 45 minutes.
Like, you can get totally catched up with the Little Witch Academia lore in the afternoon. As long as you're, got nothing more important going on in your life. And, I... Since you mentioned it, because I happen to have the mic too close to my face, yes, I do have the hiccups. I'm sorry. I've been inhaling food way too fast. I'm sorry. But yes, Little Witch Academia. I've only watched up to episode 3. So I'm just it's actually kind of weird watching the first 2 short films and then watching the series, because Sue comes off as such a fucking asshole. She's such a piece of shit.
She's evil.
She is evil. And it's really, I'm not going to say upsetting, but it's very jarring, because she's so integrated into the crew, and the crew being, those 3 characters, including herself.
Sushi, and Lot.
Yeah, Alko, Sushi, and Lot. And her just being such a fucking dick in those first 2 episodes is just, very jarring. But you have to realize that, basically, you could say the series is sort of a prequel to those short films. And you just have to remember that, because holy fuck, she's a fucking asshole. Well, I guess we could talk about the anime we've both been watching.
Why don't you start with that one? Because I'm actually behind on that one. I've only seen the first 3 episodes of it.
Okay, I've only seen the first 6, and I think it's up to like 7 or 8 right now. Yes, I'm behind. I have a job in real life. I have a real life, believe it or not, and in Bullshit has even more of a real life than me. So, yeah, we're not the losers here. Okay, let me just talk about the anime. Before it was announced, I heard about Kobayashi, Maid Dragon. I heard about the anime before it was coming out, and I had very, very, very low expectations because when I watched the trailer, I was psyched up for it. But when I realized that she was a giant, all-powerful dragon that transformed into a fucking maid, it was like my interest sort of bottomed out. I didn't care about it, but after a couple episodes premiered and people were just fucking talking nonstop about it on Twitter and Tumblr and stuff, I started to watch it. And let me just say, the only character I really care about is Kanu. I only care about her.
Kana, yeah.
Because Kana, because she's... it's like I'm at that age where I should have children, and if I could pick and choose my ideal child, it would be Kana. And it's to the point where it's like if I ever see porn of her, I get like upset about it. And it's I shouldn't be upset about it because it's a fucking fictional character, but I know I'm not alone because a lot of people are like, Kana is a really good character, but like Rule 34 is just completely off limits in regards to her. So
let me.
Okay, just get into the meat. Okay, maybe you should get into the meat.
I just want to cut in here with the full title. The full title of the show is Kobayashi-sen Chi no Maid Dragon. You can also find it under its English title, which is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So I just wanted to make sure that we said the title clearly.
Yeah. So the premise of the story is that you have Kobayashi, and I got a mouthful of rice right now, so let me just swallow that. So you have the main character, Miss Kobayashi, and through happenstance and being incredibly drunk, which is what I am right now, through happenstance and drunkenness, she saves a dragon called Toru. And as a form of repayment, Toru decides to become her maid. And that just sort of fucking happens. And then Kana shows up because Toru is missing from the dragon world or dimension. So she shows up and she becomes sort of the de facto daughter of Toru and Miss Kobayashi. And then you've got Fafnir coming up and Lukoa showing up. And basically it's like nobody gives a shit about Toru and nobody gives a shit about Fafnir. The only dragons people care about are Kanu and Lukoa.
Lukoa is the one with the huge boobs, right?
Yes, with the gigantic boobs, and she's supposed to represent the Aztec dragon.
That's right.
Quetzalcoatl. Right. Yes, and she has gigantic boobs, just fucking huge boobs, and it's like Kanu is like everybody just sort of like waifu fathers Kanu, and then everybody just fucking waifus Lukoa. I will say, because I've been so smitten with this anime that I went and read the entire manga, and let me just say, the anime is very tame in comparison to the manga, because there's a story arc in the manga where Miss Kobayashi gets a penis, like through a magical spell. She gets a penis and becomes a man for like two volumes, and it's very fan servicey, but that sort of fucking just happens. And from what it looks like, it does not happen in the anime.
The anime,
they
the
play
anime
it,
is relatively tame in its fan service compared to the manga. Yeah, it's like there is ecchi and there is fan service, but there isn't as much.
Yeah. The manga is way more extreme than the anime. So if if you want more hardcore shit, fucking go read the manga. So, but yeah, I've been watching it and surprising, and I guess my review of it is I've been surprised because I expected nothing from this anime. I went into it not liking it whatsoever, but now I like it, and there's two characters that I care a lot about. So I guess I should ask, what do you think about it?
I mean, for me, like, this isn't generally the kind of show that I watch. I tend to stray away from the fan service ecchi kinds of things. I generally stay away from things that have a premise like this, you know. And through some weird circumstance, this strange girl is now your maid. You know, not generally the kind of premise I go for. Like, what was that? There was a show that was based on a Clamp manga about a guy who gets an android one day quite randomly. The fuck was it called? Chobits. That's what it was called. You know, things like that, generally not really my thing. I will say, however, that Ms. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid has actually surprised me in that it is continually funny.
Definitely.
Generally, if I'm gonna watch something that's fan service and ecchi, I generally watch it because I either find a character endearing, which I do find Kana rather endearing. I do actually really kind of like Toru a little bit. Or because it's extremely funny. A very good example of that is a few years ago there was a show called Seto Kai Yakuin Domo, which was a straight up ecchi, and it was so funny that I just kept watching it. Kobayashi's Maid Dragon falls in this sort of middle ground where there's a couple characters that I kind of like, and the premise is kind of stupid, but at least it's funny. And the humor continues to deliver. So definitely not my favorite anime this season, but I am actually still watching it, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. Also, like, the main character, like, I love the main character. Kobayashi's, like, she's just so, like
all this shit happens to her, and she's just like, okay.
Yeah, she's just so easygoing and quiet and normal that it's hard not to like her in the context of the crazy bullshit that is happening in her house. But yeah, this one's really good. It's yet another in the long line of animes by Kyoto Animation that are like it. And a lot of people who've been following me for a while will probably remember the era of my life during which I was obsessed with K-On! So it will probably come to those people as no surprise that, yes, I am rather enjoying Kyoto Animation's latest foray into slice of life for panel comics.
So I guess since I mentioned that I was watching a lot of Douchebag Chocolates or Demolition D's videos, yeah, I've been going back through his archive of reviews and starting to watch anime that he has deemed as good. So the other anime I've been watching recently is Blue Submarine.
And that one was good.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. There's like, I guess there's a bunch of like anthropomorphic animals / human hybrids, and they like fuck a lot, and they fight with actual humans. I don't know. It's pretty good. I don't know what's going on. I think I need to be on the weed to understand it truly. But yeah, that's what else I've been watching for the past week is Blue Submarine. So I can check that off my bucket list. I watched Blue Submarine. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I do want to fuck the one chick with the red eyes. I do want to have sex with her. That's all I have to say about
yes,
Blue
that
Submarine.
would be Blue Submarine number 6.
Yes, yeah. Blue Submarine number 6, yeah. Yes. It came out in the late 90s, and it's abstract as fuck, so if you're low tier like I am, you come out of it saying, I want to fuck the chick with the red eyes. That's what you say if you're as dumb and low tier as I am. What else have you been watching?
All right, I'm only going to pull up one more show here, and this is probably my favorite show this season. It came out of nowhere, and it also came to me at a really great time. And it's called. Let me pull up the Japanese name here, because I've forgotten it. Demi-chan wa Kataritai, and I've probably completely mispronounced that, but the English translation or the English version of the show is called Interviews with Monster Girls or Interviews with Demigirls. And that's not demigirls in the Tumblr definition of demi. No, it's its own definition. Let's say that right out here. Nothing to do with whatever that whole Tumblr thing is. Demigirls in this case refers to demi-humans, who are basically monster girls. I really didn't like Every Day with Monster Girls, or Monster Musume no Nichijou or whatever, the one that came out last year. I was not a fan. I was not a fan because I love the concept of a world of half humans or monster humans or whatever, and the differences they have with humans and the cultural differences and the ways that the two species or the multiple species can clash. And I also love Monster Girl Quest, Monster Musume, the video, the hentai game, right? Fucking love that game. But I don't like ecchi, where it's just ecchi and it's just like fan service and that's all it is. I can't stand that, because I want one or the other. Either you give me just a hentai and I fap to it and that's great, and you get all inventive about what the monsters can do with their bodies, sure, great, fine. Or you make a serious show about cultural differences and, you know, what it's like to live with monster humans and all that stuff. I want one or the other. And that the last one, you know, Every Day with Monster Girls, kind of fell in the middle, and I really wasn't that big a fan of that. And in fact, I was most disappointed that it wasn't a hentai, to be honest. I think that was the biggest disappointment for that show for me, was that it just wasn't a hentai, and I really wanted that. Interviews with Demigirls or Interviews with Monster Girls fills the other side of things. It is a semi-serious, non-ecchi, you know, maybe a little bit of fan service here and there, but it's mostly a serious, subdued, quiet high school drama about this world in which monster girls are a thing, and we've accepted them, and they're now part of society. And it's this sort of it's not the beginning of the integration of these new species of X-Men, if you will, into society, but it's just a little bit after that, where we've gotten all the legislation for discrimination laws and integrating them into the society, and they've already set up the programs for government-funded, you know, research and government-funded aid to monster girls to help them integrate in human society. But we're still at the beginning where not everyone is used to having these monster girls around. And like one example is the government has a program for vampire girls where they will work with like blood banks to supply vampire girls on a monthly basis with a certain amount of blood so that they can drink that, and then they don't have to, you know, drink the blood of other people. And it's a government-funded thing, and they get it for free. It's just part of their Medicaid package, if you will, if you want to draw a parallel. anyways, the actual show itself is about focuses on the biology teacher at this high school who is late 20-something, still getting his doctorate in university, trying to work on that final thesis, decides he wants to do his thesis on demigirls, or Ajin, demi-humans, monster girls, whatever. And it just so happens that the school that he works at is participating in an exchange program where they have to allow in a certain number of monster girls, and they get some government funding. And so a vampire girl, a Dullahan, which is the monster that its head comes off, a snow woman, a Yukiona, and a succubus are all admitted to the school. The succubus is actually their new math teacher. It's an adult. And it is about this guy who sort of acts as a mentor and friend to these monster girls and helps them become more comfortable living in a society that is not used to them. And while at the same time his motivation for doing so is the opportunity to interview a demi-human and be able to write about it in his thesis. And it's a very, very, not depressing, but kind of sad, a little bit subdued show about these girls who aren't used to living in this world where people aren't used to them. And they all have their little personalities and their motivations and all of that, and end up becoming friends. And by far, the thing I was the most surprised about, to be honest, the thing I love the most about this show is the succubus. Because they didn't do what they could have with her. When you think of a succubus in an anime, the succubus is going to be the ass end, literally, of every sex joke in the show. And they're going to be the one that, wears the revealing clothes or whatever. The way they presented the succubus in this show is so interesting. She's such an interesting character because she is, out of all of the monster girls they have in the show, she's probably the one who hates herself the most and hates the fact that she is a demi-human more than any of the other demi-human characters. And so she wears extremely restrictive, conservative clothing. It covers up pretty much everything except for her face and hands. Is very careful about touching other people. Refuses to shake hands with men. And she gets up really early for work in the morning so she can ride an empty train to work, and stays at work really late so she can ride an empty train back. And they actually present some interesting conundrums with the succubus. It's like, if a succubus is, for example, groped on the train, whose fault is it? And how can you determine that the succubus wasn't purposefully enticing someone to do that so they could get them arrested? And it's a really interesting philosophical question. Who is at fault? And she also presents a really interesting philosophical conundrum of, is it possible for a succubus to have a fulfilling relationship? Can you be in a real relationship if the other person lusts after you because you were a succubus? Is that real love? Is it possible for a succubus to have a fulfilling relationship? And all these are questions that she struggles with on a daily basis, and they're presented in a really unique and interesting way. And she's not the sex object character, surprisingly. I was very surprised about that. Anyways, at this point, I'm going to reveal too much about the show. So I'm not going to say anything about the other characters. They're all really interesting. I would highly recommend that you guys see this one. It is very good.
This really reminds me of a manga I read earlier called Nurse Hitomi's Monster Infirmary, which the main character is a Cyclops who's a nurse at a Japanese middle school. And the kind of joke is that she has a very huge bust, she has very big breasts, and she's very self-conscious about that and all that, blah blah, what the fuck ever. But she's in this world where people discover their more monstrous traits when they're in middle school, when they're preteen or teenagers, and she sort of helps them in dealing with that. And that's what this anime really reminds me of. Is just these characters who have these traits that are obviously not human, just coming to terms with them and dealing with them within the restrictions of a strictly human-based society.
Yeah, and how do you integrate into a human society when so many government programs and government mandates are built around a specific kind of physiology?
Yeah, it's like one of the first characters or students that Nurse Hitomi deals with is a character who can become invisible, and that's such a simple concept, but it's like when you really factor that into modern society, it's like, what do you do? How do you deal with privacy issues when you have somebody who can become completely invisible?
Yeah, and there's a great example too that I thought was really interesting with interviews with Monster Girls with the Doulahan, where she can't walk to and from school when it is raining, because when it is raining, you have to hold an umbrella. And that means that she either has to hold an umbrella and a bag in one hand and her head in her other, or her bag and her head in one hand and her umbrella in the other. And it's a very precarious thing to do. And so she doesn't walk to school in the rain, because when she has to hold an umbrella, she's too afraid that she'll drop her head and it will get run over by a car or something. So she always gets a ride to and from school. And in anime and in sort of, schoolyard talk, Japanese schoolyard talk, when somebody shares an umbrella with you, that is culturally, stereotypically, not actually, but stereotypically, an act of romance. So she can't get someone to hold an umbrella for her to help her walk to and from school, because that would be seen stereotypically as a romantic act, sharing an umbrella. So she has to always get rides to and from school. So whenever it rains, she has to wait at school for someone to come and pick her up. And eventually at the school, they have to write a school bylaw for her, dictating that under special circumstances, a student is allowed to use a backpack, so that she can wear a backpack and walk to and from school.
Okay, so I know that. Sorry, I was this shows you how professional I am, because the first word I say, I just burp at the same time. So a lot of people like to shit on Monster Musume. And I understand that, because most of what Monster Musume is fan service. But I would like to propose a hypothesis that Monster Musume deals with these kind of situations, like Nurse Hitomi deals with people coming of age and puberty and dealing with their changing bodies, and because we all know that was a very scary thing when we were, becoming adults. Our bodies were changing, and our bodies were doing things that we were not used to, and that was very scary. And I can see where Nurse Hitomi, the manga, really deals with that, and likewise with your anime, it deals with that as well. I would say that with Monster Musume, it deals with more very close personal relationships. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understand.
It's like,
and I didn't mean to imply that Monster Musume didn't have any substance whatsoever. It's just that I was wholly turned off by the style.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I won't doubt the fact that Monster Musume is mostly fan service. It is mostly fan service. I don't doubt that for a sec, but there are points within the manga and anime where it's like it kind of deals with like characters who are not as accepted in human society as others, and how they deal with it, and how they deal with like personal relationships. Like if you look at like Centauria, she has a very antiquated style of like dealing with personal relationships. She feels that she needs to be very subservient to the main character, when if you look at the reality of the situation, she's a very strong, powerful character, but her own society puts her in this very subservient role. And then you have characters like Rachnia, which just really just breaks all the societal norms, and it's like you look at it and it's like it's an anime that's so fan servicey that really vapid reviewers just completely blow it off. But if you just look at it, it has a meaning. There are topics being discussed that are very important, but if you just look at it at a very base level, it's just full fan service. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's just, it's like a lot of like reviewers in the anime community, which are very similar to the likes of like Polygon or shit, they just completely blow off Monster Musume as just another misogynistic enabling of the patriarchy or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they're saying. I gave up on them a long time ago, but it's like, on the surface, it is a lot like that. It's like, it's like, Centauria is just, she reduces herself to being a servant of the main character, and it's like, no, not really. If you actually look into the way her culture and society is, she's still a very powerful character. Is just, if anything, it just shows the amount of respect she has for the main character. Likewise with Rachnia, it's like she isn't subservient to the character for no goddamn reason. She's subservient because she has a deep respect for the main character. And I keep saying the main character because that's literally when you read interviews with the creator of the manga, he says that literally the main character is supposed to be you. You're the main character. So, that's I think a lot of confusion comes from that, because it's like, no, this is your point of view. You're in charge of this harem full of monster girls, and this is how he thinks you would act if you had a harem full of monster girls. So,
and he's not wrong.
Believe it or not, I am so drunk right now where I am not wrong. Believe it or not.
Where you were not what?
I am not wrong. I hope I'm not, because otherwise I just sound like a fucking asshole.
Right, moving on here. So that's the anime that we've been wanting to talk about. We'll most likely do I will most likely do a complete and total retrospective of the winter anime season as soon as it's over. Most likely I will pre-record it myself and just insert it into one of our episodes, because I've been wanting to try my hand at doing that. So I'll probably end up doing that if I have the time and if I'm actually caught up and everything, because holy hell, there's a lot of anime to watch, and man, I have a new job, and it's like a real job, and it's a full-time real job, so that whole time thing that I used to have before that MDefMake didn't, now we both don't have that much time.
Yeah, it's like, I have like health insurance and a retirement plan. And now you do as well. You have health insurance and a retirement plan, which means, it's like now none of us have time to record a podcast about bullshit.
Anyways, I know that we were gonna.
We're both adults. God help us. We're fucking adults. This is Trump's America. Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
And
I'm
with that,
sorry.
we'll move into our next topic here. I know that you want to talk about some video games. You got a video game that you actually recently played the demo for and want to talk about. I'm actually excited for that one as well, but I'm still catching up on my lore for the universe for that one. And then I've got a video game that I want to talk about that I just bought just a few days ago. So why don't you start us off here, since your name's first on the list here, since you put your topic in first. Start us off talking about Nier Automata. I know very little about this game. I've only seen about 15 minutes of it from Jim Sterling's YouTube channel, but it looks pretty awesome.
Okay, now what I constructed here was because we have very strict rules on what we can do with cool shit. Like, we're limited to two cool shits per episode, but I've cleverly found a loophole where I can insert a third cool shit by making it my main topic, and that is Nier Automata for the PS4 and the PC, which by the time this episode comes out, it will have been released for both platforms in North America. Because it's at the time of recording, it's been released for Japan, but not yet for PS4 players or PC players, which will be the 7th and the 17th of March, 2017. Now, all I really want to say about this is, if you have a PS4, go play the demo. The demo is fucking incredible. It's a very enjoyable demo. It's very heartfelt. It teaches you the mechanics of the game very quickly. But what I will say is that, yes, it is just a demo. And before you ask, because obviously with the name of the title, Nier Automata, you can imply that there are previous games in the series. And I will tell you right now, do not play those previous games, because the creator of the series, like many very brilliant Japanese game developers, is fucking insane. They are fucking crazy. They are Phil Fish levels of crazy. And what I will tell you to do is go to our show notes and click the link in the main topic called What You Missed from Nier, because he doesn't know we fucking exist, but the person we both like, Super Bunny Hop, went and played all of the previous Nier games, and he summarizes them very well in this video, so you do not waste hours of your life playing those goddamn games.
I will say this, however, Nier itself, the game Nier, is a spin-off of the Drakengard series, and I can say this: Drakengard 1 and 2 are definitely worth playing. They are actually very fun.
Okay, yes, I will give you that. Drakengard 1, 2, and I would even say 3 are worth playing. But if it has Nier in the title, don't fucking play it. Please. It's like, you see somebody and they're at a party and they've got like 4 lines of Coke in front of them, and you want to say, please don't do only do like 2 lines of Coke. Don't do all 4. That's how I feel whenever I see somebody pop in a copy of the first Nier game. It's like, okay, please don't play that. Just go fucking watch go read a Wikipedia page, please. Don't ruin your life like that. And that's what I'm saying right now is, go to our show notes and go to our main topic and click on what you need to know what you missed from Nier, because Super Bunny Hop, George from Super Bunny Hop, he's taken the bullet for you. He's sacrificed his life in playing the Nier games to tell you what they're all about. Because, my God, you don't need to be playing those games. And he's taking the bullet for you. So if you respect humanity at all, don't play the previous Nier games. Just go watch Super Bunny Hop's or George's video, because that will catch you up. If you really care that much about Nier Automata's lore, he will catch you up completely, because he's taking the bullet for you. So, God bless George from Super Bunny Hop. Okay, let's talk about your fucking game now.
Okay, are you sure there's nothing else you want to talk about Nier Automata? Because there's a lot I want to talk about mine.
Okay, let me just say one thing. And this is
There's
a
something
thing
about thigh fat you wanted to say earlier.
Well, as you know, Ben, as you know in Bullshit, I've shut down my old blog, and I've created a new account on Tumblr where I've created 2 blogs. One called Wild Ack Yells, where I rant and talk about political bullshit. Like, I posted an article, I made an article about Milo Yiannopoulos, which, surprisingly, if I were to post on my old account, would have lost me a ton of followers. I've gained a ton of followers, because now I've created a blog specifically for ranting and retarded political bullshit. And now I also have an art blog where people who follow me, they know I have this kink for large, older women with very large breasts and big butts and all that stuff. I like that stuff a lot. And I found out there's a lot of people who like that as well. It's like, yes, we do appreciate large breasts and butts and thighs and all that, which makes me very happy because I know that that the world isn't full of fucking pedophiles. That makes me very happy, and that's a part of Nier Automata that I very much enjoy, is that the character you play in the demo, which, yes, at the time of recording, it is the 5th of March, which is 2 days prior to the full release of the game on the PS4, and I want to say 12 days before the launch on the PC on Steam. And my God, the thigh physics of the game are just incredible. It's like, okay, this is kind of hard to explain just in audio, but let me try it as the drunken, retarded fuck I am right now. There's this thing where if you have thick thighs and you put stockings on them that are just a tiny bit too tight. Like, they're not uncomfortable tight, but they're still a little tiny bit too tight to where the stocking part of the thigh is thinner than the non-stocking part. That just gives me a gigantic fucking boner. I don't know how else to explain it in audio format. If I had a picture I could show in the YouTube video right now, I would show it, because my God, that's like an instant boner for me. When you have a stocking where it's just a little bit tighter than the skin, so the skin is just a tiny, like less than 1 millimeter thicker than the stocking, than the wrapped stocking itself. It's just like, fuck, I got a rock hard boner, and I'm gonna come fucking gallons from that shit. And Nier Automata does that full well, as long as you know how to manipulate the camera.
I will also say this: the third Drakengard game also had a very pretty main character, even though she had that weird eye thing.
2B, which is the main character in the Nier Automata demo, she looks fucking spectacular. And also, if you try to investigate her thighs too much, she slaps the camera away.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, if you like go into an open area where there's no enemies and you try to manipulate the camera to look under her dress, and you do it for more than like a minute, she slaps the camera away.
That's awesome. That is a really well thought out, hilarious, unnecessary feature.
Yeah, it's almost like the game developers knew that we were all fucking perverts. It's almost
as if the people making the game knew that we were all fucking disgusting.
Yes, so if you have a PS4, go play the demo right now. Which, by the time this comes out, Nier Automata will already have been out, so you should be playing the fucking demo right now. If you're on PC, wait for the reviews because, well, I stick by the rule, never pre-order, especially on PC. So wait for the proper reviews from proper professionals, not like us. And if they say that the game is good, then go fucking buy the game on Steam. Because never pre-order. Don't ever pre-order, ever. Wait for the reviews to come in, especially on PC. So, and which I'm saying from the past right now, I do hope it gets good reviews, especially on PC, because I think people should be playing it.
It's Platinum Games, so it'll probably be received well.
Yes, it's a platinum. Okay. Here's my selling pitch for why you should purchase this game, and this is without a proper review. Here's my selling pitch for why you should buy this game on March 17th, because God knows I know a lot of our I know a lot of our listeners are PC gamers, so you're gonna be waiting until the 17th instead of the 7th, because the 7th is when the PS4 version comes out. 17th is when the PC version comes out. Here's my reasons why you should buy the game. 1, it's a platinum game. 2, them fucking thighs.
Yeah, I'm actually God, there's so many games coming out that I want to get. And Automata, unfortunately, is pretty low on my list of games because there are a couple that I have. Yes, I've pre-ordered. I have bought into that disgusting capitalist pig culture. I have pre-ordered some games.
Well, I'm gonna stray away from, because you know that there's a lot of people like Total Biscuit and stuff who say pre-orders never. Pre-orders are complete fucking evil. I will say, at least with consoles, you have some guarantee of a minimum like level of performance.
Yeah, it'll play. That's true.
Yeah, whereas with PC, you do not have that guarantee, which I will say, like, pre-order for consoles, yeah, I don't like it, but at least you will be able to play the game, whereas with PC, there's no fucking reason to pre-order anything because it may just not fucking play for you. You don't fucking know. You don't have that guarantee. The thing that consoles have that the Xbox One and the PS4 have is a guarantee that the game will play. So I know that's a weird way to say that, but that's sort of my statement on pre-orders is that, yeah. Is what I just said. So go ahead. I sorry for cutting in on you.
Yeah, so I did pre-order some things. I've actually got a pre-order down for Atelier Furus, which is coming out on the 7th, so I will likely have it before this episode goes live. I have a pre-order down for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Which I don't understand. Okay, I know why you pre-ordered Mass Effect Andromeda because you have not. You've cut yourself away from all of the promotion and drama surrounding Mass Effect Andromeda.
I have not made myself aware of any pre-launch advertisement and any possible drama that has come out from that pre-launch advertisement. I don't know any of that shit. Have not looked.
Okay, so let me just say this, and because I'm assuming that some of our listeners have seen some of the pre-release marketing for it. Let me just say in bullshit, God help you. That's all I have to say. Is God help you. I will say nothing more about Mass Effect Andromeda.
Right. We'll see when I get it. If I come raging to your inbox, then you'll know.
Yes. And we will definitely have an episode talking about that because we will have a discussion about the very fundamentals of your kinks, which we will need to talk about.
Anyways, one of the games that I did pre-order that I now have is Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a PS4 exclusive. A lot of you guys out there probably you remember it from the last E3 that we had. Post-apocalyptic Native Americans fighting machine dinosaurs.
This looked really fucking cool to me.
A little bit like Turok almost.
Because I am a very base creature with very base desires. So when I bought my PS4, I was just like, Lovecraftian demons that I can kill and have sex with, and metaphorically in Bloodborne, I'm totally down for that. Yeah, so that's why ultimately I bought a PS4 Slim, was so I could play Bloodborne and become the fetus of a Lovecraftian demon. That's my kink. Don't shame me. Don't shame me.
It's really good though. Like, it's a really good game.
Bloodborne is fucking amazing. It's I don't want to say it because it would piss off a lot of Dark Souls fans, but Bloodborne is like the most perfect Dark Souls game, which makes sense because it's made by the same developers as Dark Souls.
It's like not a spin-off necessarily, but like a spiritual offshoot from Dark Souls.
Yes, and they take many pages from the great H.P. Lovecraft.
I will say this, though, from a gameplay mechanics standpoint, Dark Souls 3 actually takes a lot of what was great about Bloodborne and puts it into the Dark Souls games. Not thematically, but I mean just from the way the battle system works and movesets and the pacing of like fights and stuff. There's a lot of Bloodborne in Dark Souls 3. It's actually really cool.
Well, fuck me. It looks like I have to buy Dark Souls 3 because, god damn it, I fucking love Bloodborne. And yes, I would. I'll say it right now. I'll say it right now. If the moonbeam came down, I'd fuck it. I'd fuck the moonbeam. Would you?
Anyways, talking about
Native Americans versus robo dinosaurs. Go on.
Horizon Zero Dawn has probably one of the most unique settings, which is weird because it's a post-apocalyptic open world adventure game with survival in it.
It's set very, very far in the future, which, let me just say, Nier Automata is set about 10,000 years in the future.
Yeah, from the previous game, yeah.
Yes. So Horizon Zero Dawn is set many years in the future, in which we're so far in the future that we consider Gingers a fucking Native American tribe. So fucking go with that, dude. Wait, is the main character? Does she have red hair?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, she is.
Okay, good.
So,
good.
I was saying, the game is a post-apocalyptic open-world adventure game, and it's so post the apocalypse that human society has technologically regressed from a standard of technology that is post our modern times. So, the humans before the apocalypse were ridiculously technologically advanced. Or as far as I know. Now, again, I have not finished the game. I'm probably about halfway through, so keep that in mind if you finish the game. But they were really technologically advanced. They had all these incredible machines and all this incredible technology, portable wireless communication, far more advanced than ours that we have now. And then some shit happened. Nature took over. Human society regressed. And now there are machines walking the earth. Terrorizing humans, and there's a cult trying to control the machines to take over the world. The story, not the most original. Pretty standard. But the actual, like, the lore and the backstory of the world is really interesting. You can find, like, a lot of games that they have like this, there's you find audio logs, right? They did that shit in Doom. Or not Doom, sorry. Was it Doom? Yeah, it was Doom. Doom 3, right? Yeah.
I don't know, I guess so.
And there were, like, you can find audio logs, and there's all these recordings of these, ancient humans that were really technologically advanced. And I've only collected maybe 25% of all of these data points and all of these audio logs, but from what I can understand, it's Earth, postmodern Earth, future Earth, I guess, technologically advanced, and there was some kind of series of events, most likely, global warming, raising the oceans or some shit. And the way they flesh out the culture is so interesting. There's actually a lore piece. Have you answer me this, MDF? Back when you had Skype, did you ever get porn bots on Skype?
Oh yeah, dude. I've gotten. I'd say on average about maybe once a month.
Did you ever
on Skype
attempt to hold a conversation with one just to see what would happen?
I did that a couple times, and I think the best one lasted about 5 minutes.
So there's a lore piece in Horizon Zero Dawn that you can find in one of the ancient ruins that is literally a flash drive with a picture on it that has a screenshot of this guy took to send to his friend to joke about a fake conversation he'd had with a porn bot on an instant messaging program. Like, that's one of the lore pieces that you can find, and it was really funny when I first found it. And there's just all kinds of shit like that. Aesthetically, the combat system, very, very, very much, it feels a lot like Turok. You got a bow. There's machines and dinosaurs. Machine dinosaurs. Obviously feels a bit like Turok. There's a great video about... there's not video. Jim Sterling wrote a great review for this game, which is actually the reason why I was really excited for it, even though I'd already pre-ordered it. Where he basically said, a lot of people are saying that this game is like an amalgamation of all kinds of other games. You've got your open world GTA standard... You've got a combat system that feels like it was cobbled together from Turok and Red Dead Redemption. You've got, a map revealing system that feels a lot like Ubisoft's, radio tower system from Far Cry. You've got a sneaking system that feels like Far Cry 3's sneaking system. You've got a targeting system that feels like Deus Ex's targeting system. But it's like they took all of these things from other games and mashed them together and didn't do anything original or new, but did it better and polished it all really well. And I think that's a really fair way of explaining what this game is.
Well, I guess the big question that needs to be asked here is, obviously this game is not original. because as you just said, it takes so much from so many different games. But I guess the big question here is, did you have fun?
Oh God, yes. I'm having so much fun. The game's difficulty is a surprise. The machines hit fucking hard. I wouldn't want to liken it to Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but the comparison has to be made. The way that dodging works in this game, the way that enemies telegraph their moves, and the sheer amount of damage each individual attack from any one given enemy does, makes the game feel a lot like, when you're in melee combat, feel a lot like Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne. But the ranged combat feels a lot like Far Cry and Turok. There's like the story, while it's pretty standard, is presented in a really interesting way. The voice acting is fantastic. The game is beautiful, of course. I'm not even gonna bother hyping on the graphics. You can go fucking look at a video yourself and figure out whether or not the graphics look great. I think they look fine. But you know, and of course, everyone knows I have a massive hard-on for playing as a woman. I love games where you have a female main character, and the only thing I like more than being able to choose to have a female main character is to have a story where the main character has to be female. So that's just a personal thing of mine.
Okay, let me just say something really quick here. I had no interest in pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch or Legend of Zelda Breath of Fire. But
you mean Breath of the Wild? Breath of the
Wild
is a different series.
Okay, Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, I'm not that good a Nintendo fan. I'm sorry. I just like Wario and Waluigi. I relate to Waluigi with his fucking genie shoes. the fucking gypsy fuck. When I found out that there were 12-foot tall women, and Link could cross-dress as a belly dancer, I'm like, I want to Switch. I don't know why I cut in right there. Actually, let me take this chance cutting into your review. For new listeners of the FAPcast, one thing you will quickly realize is that when I'm set off to review some on my own, my reviews are kind of vapid and not very substantial, but as soon as in bullshit talks, the gears in my brain start cranking. And let me just say that with Nier Automata, while I went on and on about how thick her fucking thighs are, let me just say that the combat system in it is very okay. The enemies in the Nier Automata demo are reminiscent of like the Iron Giants. Like, you know how the Iron Giant looks? He's like this big iron, sort of classic robot look. And that's what a lot of the enemies look like. They look like classic robots, like something that like a fucking 7-year-old would draw. Like, very simple robots. But the thing is, and their attacks are so simple. Like, the main attack you'll face in the Nier Automata demo is a windmill attack, which is like the nerdiest attack. It's where you're literally just swinging your arms without regard of where you're hitting. And those attacks will stop you completely. Like, if you're in the middle of a chain, just like attacking like 20 robots at the same time, if one of them hits you with a windmill attack just right, your attack chain will fucking shut down. And it's it's really frustrating, but it's also really kind of brilliant, because you look at these characters and you look at how they attack, and they're just so comical and cartoonish that you don't assume anything. But when they hit you, it fucking hits you. It fucking hits you. Holy shit. Because, let me just say, if you have a PS4, please go play the Nier Automata demo, because it will Cause when I first saw the enemies, I was like, oh, these look like fucking cartoon characters. You don't think that they're a threat, and it's like, but and most of the time they're not. But when they fucking hit you, your attack chain is fucking shut down, and you just have to deal with it. And by the time they're done attacking you, you've lost like 3/4 of your life bar, and you're like worried about losing the fucking game. Because I'm sorry I did not mention that in my original review, but again, it's like, if you just pump me for a fucking review, I'll just tell you the most basic shit. Like, yeah, her fucking thighs are thick, but once I hear him bullshit talk about where the fuck he's talking about, I'm like, oh yeah, there's also a lot of other things in that game besides. Yeah, aside from thighs.
So I don't have too much more on Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I really do. I am one of those people who is absolutely in favor of the idea that the game speaks for itself. And if you don't have a PS4, I honestly have to say, like, if you don't have a PS4, fine, go watch a Let's Play. There's a great Let's Play of Horizon Zero Dawn coming out right now. There's one from Geek Remix. That's the Two Girls One Let's Play. There's one from Christopher Odd. And I believe there's one from someone else. It might be Keith Ballard. But Christopher Odd and Geek Remix both are playing Horizon Zero Dawn. They do have some fun. I mean, it depends on the kind of commentary you like. Depends. But if you have a PS4, you have to get this game. It's very fun. It is very good. It's a complete out of left field surprise. I mean, Guerrilla Games, they've produced some landmark games, right? Killzone. A lot of people love Killzone.
Yeah.
And some people don't like that series. I actually really like that series. I think it's a very good series. Regardless, it was critically well received, and it was well received by fans. Nobody expected their next project after Killzone to be this. This is like the last fucking thing you would ever expect. From a developer that's done linear shooters to go and do a wide open world, high lore, unique battle system, unique amalgamation of battle systems, rather, and have a non-linear game is a really big stretch. Guerrilla Games, not really known for their interesting narrative. Killzone games are great fun, but I mean, not the most complex of stories, right?
Yeah, Killzone games are like Call of Duty games. They're all about the action, which is nothing against those games.
Yeah, and they do, they have great action in them, and they're a lot of fun, but not really known for their narrative. So to have a game that actually has a pretty good, okay story and a really interesting, well fleshed out world lore is not something I expected from this company at all. And to add on top of that the game is actually really fucking good is a complete surprise to me. So if you can, you can check out. Anyone can check out Horizon Zero Dawn. Anyone can watch a fucking video on YouTube. But if you have a PS4, I implore you, go out and buy this game. It is really fun.
So what you're telling me is I gotta spend $60 to remain relevant to you.
Don't fucking talk to me.
Don't fucking talk to me unless you played this fucking ginger Native American game with robo dinosaurs.
Oh yes, that's the other thing too. I should say this as well. Regardless of what you may think of things they have said, and regardless of what you may think of things their fucking brother has said, the main character is voiced by Ashley Birch, who is in fact one of my favorite voice actors in the medium.
Which, let me just say right now, her brother is a fucking pathetic cuck, and I say that unironically, but do not judge her based on her brother. Her brother is a fucking loser. She is totally capable on her own. That's very misogynistic of you to judge her based on her brother. Don't do that, you naughty, naughty boy.
So yeah, like I said, regardless of what you may think of things she or her brother has said, no, there's a lot of controversy of stuff around past couple of years, social media, things have been said. Regardless of what you may think of either of them, Ashley Birch is a phenomenal voice actress, and was one of the reasons why I actually really enjoyed Borderlands 2. The second one.
Totally. Shit. I wanted to say something. You mentioned Birch, and my mind went just fucking red right there, so I forgot what I was going to say. I'm like, oh, Birch, that fucking cuck. I guess anything else I could say is that it's, and I think I've said this before, is that you don't have to fully agree with someone, or you don't have to completely like someone to agree with what they've had to say. Because if you've looked at, like, my politics, which I'm not going to say right here, this is only for the people who follow me on Twitter. There's only a very small portion of my politics that agrees with people like Jim Sterling. Like, my politics are, if you're LGBT, if you're all that, then you deserve all the rights that anybody else has. And that's pretty much where I stand with that. And, people like Jim Sterling go beyond that. And I disagree with them on a fundamental level. But despite all of that, I can put away my personal politics and stuff, because people like Jim Sterling know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to reviewing games. It's like, personal politics aside, Jim Sterling knows what the fuck he's talking about. So if you're wondering whether or not you should support or not support Jim Sterling, let's just say his game reviews are fucking rock solid. And it's okay to follow and like people who don't agree with you politically. And I know this sounds really weird talking about this right now, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, we in Bullshit and I made a promise not to talk about political things here on the podcast, but I just want to make that clear, that it's okay to like somebody or to enjoy somebody's content, even if you don't agree with them politically. And that sounds really dumb to say, because that seems like a very basic fact, but that's just the way the political climate looks like right now. And I just wanted to mention that. So, yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
Nope.
In Bullshit? Yeah.
Here's my thing, guys. Here's my thing, guys. We did an episode about this back on the GCC podcast. I think this might have actually been back before the GCC podcast, when we were the Grand Canterlot Cavalcade and Color Genitals podcast for Sophisticated Bronies, where we did an episode about being able to separate art from the artist, and that you could absolutely fucking hate everything that an artist stood for politically, but still really enjoy the art that they made if it wasn't politically charged, or if it was politically charged in a way that you agreed with. My example is I've already forgotten the name of the fucking band.
Well, okay, here's a good example. H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft was a racist motherfucker. He totally lived in the world of the 19th century, which was not compatible with the reality that he lived in, which was the early 20th century. He was a racist bigoted motherfucker. But regardless of that, he wrote incredible horror sci-fi short stories that, even though that nowadays he's been dead for many decades, but some of his biggest fans and some of the authors who are most inspired by him are people who are not cisgendered or transgendered. It's like one of the best Lovecraft writers right now is a transgendered woman. It's like you can set aside his racism and bigotry and just look at the core concepts of the cosmic horror that he was writing about. I think I know I'm really drunk right now, but I think I'm trying to make that very clear. That's like a good baseline example.
My example is I finally remembered the name of the band I was thinking of. The band is Rise Against, and I don't know why I forgot their name. They're one of my favorite bands. Rise Against, of course, being the punk rock band from the United States. I don't know. Everyone should know who that is. They're pretty famous. But all of the members of Rise Against are either vegetarians or vegans and are loud and proud supporters of PETA. I fucking hate PETA for a variety of reasons, and not all are political. But, that's just my thing. And I don't particularly like that the members of one of my favorite bands are loud and proud supporters of PETA. But you know what? I still buy their albums because I like their music.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like I've said in previous posts. It's like, I don't like Vox Media at all. Vox Media owns Polygon, and Polygon, as far as like gay news sites, is fucking garbage. They're literal SJW trash, and I don't think there are a whole lot of people who would disagree with that. But Vox Media puts out really good documentaries about like the Concorde and the interstate highway system. It's like, Vox Media puts out all this social justice garbage, but they also put out really good documentaries. The same with Vice. Vice does so much social justice garbage, but they put out really good documentaries about North Korea and Liberia and South Sudan that are really important. People should watch. And it's like, you can't discredit the entire organization because of of a little bit of the dumb shit they put out. It's okay. It's okay to disagree with someone and still listen to their fucking opinion or listen to what they have to say. And I just wish more people would do that, because it's right now it's the 5th of March, and I live here in South Dakota. You live out there in the Bay Area near like San Jose and Fremont and stuff, but I'm sure you know that yet another riot happened up in Berkeley today, or the day previous. And I just want to say, I'm not going to give any opinion about, who, because for people who don't know, there was a pro-Trump rally that happened in Berkeley, and of course, a riot broke out, because that's the way America is here in the year 2017. And I just want to say, I don't agree with any side. I don't agree with the pro-Trump protesters or the anti-fascist rioters that went and wrecked a bunch of shit. But I just want to say, please have an open mind. Talk about things. Say, listen to opposing opinions and form your own fucking opinion. This is not... This, I know we said before we're not going to get political, but this isn't political. This is just how a human should act in the modern society. Is just don't latch on to ideologies. Just form your own fucking opinion and decide for yourself what you think is right and wrong. And I just had the realization that I'm saying that on a podcast where I talked about how I would fuck the shit out of some anime character. I don't remember. Welcome to 2017, folks. Welcome to 2017. Some fucking weeb in his mid-30s is giving you life advice. Can you believe? I know you're intentionally staying quiet because I'm talking right now and it's some really cringy shit that I'm saying right now. But, hey, and bullshit, can you believe that the world is like this these days?
And with that, we move on to our cool shit segment. Of course, this is the segment that we do every week where we link a bunch of cool shit that we found during the... I can't even do it without laughing. Whenever you do that, dude, I just let you go. I just sit there and let you go.
I don't know what to say, dude. It's like it's like I see what's happening and I'm just like, this isn't right. This shouldn't be happening, but it is fucking happening. I just don't know what the fuck to do. I feel like I should do something. You know what it is? I'm still clinging onto this myth that I can make a difference. I still cling on to that. And what I need to do is I started watching a series on Netflix called House of Cards. And one of the things in the first season or the first couple seasons that I've really latched onto is the mandala wheel, which is something in Buddhism, and I've looked it up and I've read about it. And it's a religious symbol in Buddhism, which they make out of sand, and they craft this beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork out of sand. And it takes them months to do it. And once they complete it, they destroy it. Like, once they complete the mandala, they just completely destroy it. And it's something that House of Cards has shown me, and I've become really fascinated with. And I don't know, it's something I've just been really thinking about a lot. It's like, it's just, I guess ultimately none of this fucking matters. None of this fucking matters. Anyway, cool shit.
All right, and with that, we move on to the next segment of our show.
Yes, you got podcasts and music channels to talk about.
With that, we move on to the next segment of our show, which is the cool shit segment. Of course, every week we link 2, sometimes 3 for fucking cheaters. Sometimes, but usually
I already linked one of my things in the main topic. I'm a fucking watchdog hacker with that shit.
Things that we found during the week or at some other point in our lives that we've just remembered this week that we think are cool. And of course, everything we link and talk about is in our show notes, which we will link in the post on social media for each episode, as well as the description boxes for our YouTube post. That will also be where, once I've got everything set up and running on the archive, where I will link the direct downloads of the audio. So I will start us off as I do every week. Sometimes we'll switch our names. I'm just too lazy to do that. With my first piece of cool shit here, which is a YouTube channel for a musician named Temanite. I recently discovered this guy on YouTube through a channel called Dubstep Gutter, because I listen to dubstep and I think I'm the only person left alive who does in the year of our Lord 2017. Temanite is an excellent musician. He's got a really good style with lead patches and melodies. He's really good at making catchy hooks and stuff like that, just in the same way that Avicii does, except he's not Avicii, which makes him better than Avicii. And yes, I did just say
so
that.
You're telling me. So what you're telling me is he actually pays for his VSTs?
Pays for the music software that he uses. I have no idea, but he probably does.
Well, I mean, if we look at Avicii, that's like the lowest fucking standard. Yeah, by the way, if you don't know, Avicii has been known to pirate his VSTs.
Yeah. It's actually a well-known fact at this point.
Yeah. Well, I just clicked on I clicked on the link and listened to the default video he plays on there. It's very 2011 and 2012, which is rather nostalgic, and it's like if you just listen to it on its own, you kind of like move to the beat a little bit.
He's also got a lot of stuff. There's a song in here called Night Drive, which is not a dubstep track. It's just a electro 8-bit inspired track, very similar to it actually sounds a lot like the track Megalovania from the soundtrack to Undertale. But he's got a lot of electro stuff. He's got a lot of dubstep stuff. He's got a little bit of drum and bass, a little bit of all different kinds of styles. He does collab with another artist named Panda Eyes on occasion. But yeah, this guy's got a really, really good handle on melodies and catchy hooks, and he's very good. I've been listening almost nonstop to his music for the past couple of weeks. Fun fact, actually, so I work at Hertz Car Rentals currently, right now. And one of the things that we get to do at Hertz on a regular basis is drive a lot. We drive a lot. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the job is driving. We drive cars to and from other Hertz locations. We drive cars to dealerships and body shops to pick up customers. We drive cars to customers' house to drop off customers once they've finished renting a car with us. We pick up people from the airports. We take cars to the airport. We go to the airports to take cars from the airport. We one-way cars to oil changers. Like, there's a lot of driving and
yeah, didn't you tell me that like you fucking drive like Land Rovers and Porsches on the reg?
Not Porsches and not Land Rovers. Mostly because of where I work, the car I drive the most often, you're gonna laugh at this, the car I drive most often is the Toyota Yaris liftback.
Okay, no disrespect. The Toyota Yaris is a perfectly fine vehicle for the market it's for, but
which is soccer moms who have a child who is on a soccer team but has no friends on the soccer team. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's a perfect size for the lonely mom and son, which is a perfect setup for a nice hentai manga.
The second most common car that I drive is the Nissan Versa hatchback.
Well, I remember you telling me a couple weeks ago you got to drive a fucking Porsche Panamera.
I got to drive a Porsche Panamera. I have been able to drive a Buick Regal and a Buick Verano. Those were nice.
Which are the top cars in China?
I drove a Ford Mustang, a Dodge Charger, a Ford Fusion, a Chevy Sonic, a Chevy Spark, which I did not enjoy at all, because it was like driving inside of a tin can inside of a smart car.
What? Let me just say right now that total ethics in podcast journalism. I do not rent cars from Hertz, so don't worry about any conflict of interest that could ever pop up in regards to car rentals on this podcast. But still, like, my best experience ever was paying for the rental of a Chevrolet Cruze and the rental place not having any Cruzes. So they gave me a Chevrolet Suburban that retailed for about $90,000. So I got to drive around for like a week and a half in a Chevy Suburban that was totally out of the range of a car I would ever purchase.
That's awesome. But
it was amazing.
What I was saying, I drive a lot of cars at work, and sometimes they're nice, and sometimes they're Chevrolet Sparks. And so there's a lot of driving that I have to do. Whenever I don't have a customer in the car, the phone's out and Temanite's playing. So that's been an awesome companion for work, for work-related driving, I have to say.
Okay, here's one request I have. Way back in the day, like before like YouTube was ever a thing, when we traded videos still on VHS tapes and stuff, there was a series of videos we used to watch at my work where they were called CKY, or Camp Kill Yourself, and they were made by the guys who eventually made like Jackass and Bam Margera and stuff like that. And one of the skits they had was where this is back in the day where you could rent a car and pay the extra insurance and do whatever the fuck you wanted with the car. And all you had to pay was the insurance and nothing else. So they rented a Chevy Cavalier. That's how old this video was. It was still a Chevy Cavalier, and they fucking destroyed the thing. And all they had to pay was $9 in insurance. And the one request I have is, please tell us of these horror stories.
I don't think I can tell that kind of stuff on the podcast.
Oh my god!
But that said, the world of car rentals is a magical place, and magical things happen on a regular basis. I actually have a friend who works for Enterprise. I don't actually know if it's Enterprise or not. I think it's Enterprise, but he would tell me this story. He lived in Colorado, works at a rental car place. He would tell me these stories of how ever since Colorado legalized marijuana, people come to vacation in Colorado so they can smoke marijuana on vacation and then just leave marijuana in the rental car that they rented, because they would buy too much marijuana and then realize, oh shit, I can't take this home back on a plane, and just leave it in the rental car. And he would go to return a car and clean it and then just find marijuana in the car and be like, oh, free marijuana.
Oh. That's a pretty sweet deal. Oh, that's a pretty sweet deal. Yeah, never had that shit here because, well, super conservative state, so yeah, they ain't gonna ever happen here. Not legally, of course. Yeah, I guess I should talk about my thing. What did I put in my... It's been so long since I put cool shit in here, it's been several hours, so let me catch up to what I was getting at with this cool thing. Oh yeah, Ray Civic. Ray Civic is a guy on YouTube, and he does something really, at least to me, very interesting. He analyzes Halo, Mass Effect, and Call of Duty. Which are games that you don't think need any sort of analysis because, well, they're the AAA games. They're the most popular games out there. It's like people just buy them on name alone. You don't... it's like when you hear of a new Call of Duty game coming out, you don't care about the story. You don't care about anything like that. You just care about the fact that, well, this is the game everybody's going to be playing, so if I want to play multiplayer on the Xbox One, I guess I have to fucking buy Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because I still want to hang out with my friends online in the game. And this guy just goes through and he analyzes them. The thing that really stuck me to him was he talked about what turned Call of Duty from a really original and good series, like a series that made you that both entertained you and made you really think, into a series that was just fucking AAA popcorn garbage. And that was Modern Warfare 2. Spoiler alert, Modern Warfare 2 was when Call of Duty switched from being a reflective, game that made you really think about the actions you were taking, and just turned it into a action movie that didn't require any thought whatsoever. And this is what he does. He talks about these AAA games, and he breaks them down and really makes you think about things you didn't even consider beforehand. So yeah, that's my first cool thing.
All right, my second cool thing here is another podcast. I don't know if I linked these guys before or not. But this is a podcast that has been going on for, probably 5 years now. They're up to more than that. They're up to episode 390. They have been going since...
Jesus.
Oh, my sweet Lord. July 5th,
Oh, I know these guys. I listen to these guys.
So this podcast is called Critical Hit, and it is a spin-off podcast from another podcast called Major Spoilers, which has its own website and is now actually a community and general nerd media website. Major Spoilers is probably the podcast you're familiar with, Deathmech.
No, I never. I knew about that podcast, but I only know these guys for Critical Hit. I've literally, this podcast you linked to in your cold shit is one I've been listening to since, I'd say, about 2013.
Okay, so
I know these guys. I know these guys.
I was actually turned on to this podcast by a friend of mine from WildStar, one of the guys in my guild. And now I come from Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. That was my first D&D D&D edition before going back and playing second edition Through the Eyes of Baldur's Gate, which I did not enjoy very much, but it was mostly because I fucking hate second edition. But these guys actually played Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, and 4th edition had just come out when this podcast started. So I had never played Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, so that was awesome. Anyways, Critical Hit is a podcast where 4 guys play Dungeons and Dragons. And they play a campaign that is so interesting that they keep it going for 8 years. It is currently almost in its 8th year. Actually,
yeah.
No, that's not very fair to say. The actual campaign they did started in July 2009. So yeah, in a few months here, it will be in its 8th year. I would normally, under normal circumstances, say, go to iTunes and subscribe on iTunes on their podcast. However, their show is so fucking long that iTunes cuts off its first 40 episodes. And you can't go back and listen to early episodes. And every time they add a new episode on iTunes, it cuts off one of the earlier episodes and just deletes it. So this show has been going on so long, Apple won't let them put the whole thing on iTunes. So what I have linked here is their podcasting platform, which they elected here to use podbay.fm. And you can actually stream and download the episodes from Podbay. Unfortunately, it's not as convenient as iTunes. So honestly, what I would say is try and catch up to the show using Podbay. Once you catch up to past where they are on iTunes, then you can subscribe on iTunes and catch up that way, because iTunes is more convenient. But unfortunately, the first, at this point, I believe 40 or 50 episodes on iTunes are actually gone. They've been knocked off the list and deleted. So
yeah, just on iTunes, not on their actual server.
Yeah.
The server still has the episodes. It's just iTunes has a limit, has an arbitrary limit that Apple imposes.
Yeah. But anyways, this show is amazing. It is headed by, well, the campaign itself is headed by a guy named Rodrigo, who is their dungeon master. He is one of the best dungeon masters I have ever had the pleasure of listening to. He is a phenomenal dungeon master. And the way he's able to keep this campaign going with constant new and fresh ideas is nothing short of absolutely amazing. Later on in the show, once you hit the, like, I want to say the 150th episode or so, they start doing this thing where they pause the campaign, because what will happen sometimes when you play Dungeons and Dragons, if you're a dungeon master, is your party will do something you don't expect, and it will be something that you didn't have a contingency written for, and you'll have to say, I'm sorry guys, like, you guys did something I didn't expect. I'm going to need a little bit to rewrite part of the story so that we can go through with what you guys have done. And of course, you know, even though Rodrigo's is a fair and experienced DM, that does occasionally happen. He does occasionally discover that they do something that he didn't expect. And when that happens, he'll say, okay, I need a pause for like 4 episodes, like a month. Give me a month to catch up and think about how we're going to do this. And in the meantime, what they produce are one-shot campaigns where they give the other guys in the group an opportunity to all be a dungeon master, which is a really neat idea. What makes this show so much fun from the beginning, and why I suggest it, even if you have never played Dungeons and Dragons before, is the guy who hosts the podcast, whose name I've completely forgotten. I want to say his name is Matthew, but that's probably not correct. I think Matthew is the funny one. Maybe his name is Chris. I don't know. He sounds like a white guy. But the guy who hosts the podcast, who is the host of Major Spoilers, I'm sorry, I'm completely banking on his name. Actually, at the beginning of this podcast, had never even seen anything from Dungeons and Dragons. The whole point of this podcast was they originally envisioned it as this sort of one-off thing that they were going to do. Because you know, they had this nerd website going, and they were talking about all this nerd stuff, movies, films, comics, and all that stuff, mostly comics. And they decided to do a one-off special episode about Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition because it had just come out, and they figured, oh, let's be topical and talk about the new D&D edition. We have a guy who's with us who is a dungeon master, and he'll talk about it. And they did a whole episode about that. I believe it's actually the very first episode of Critical Hit. Critical Hit number 1, Dungeons & Dragons 4E. And what happened was... The host was like, you know, this actually sounds really interesting. Do you think that we could maybe like get a game going, just like a one-shot game? Because I'm kind of interested in playing this. And so they do another episode where Rodrigo walks him through making a character, and then one or two episodes of Rodrigo like giving him a one-shot campaign, and then him going, man, this is really fun. We should keep doing it. So they get a group together and they continue on with the one shot campaign, and then he just builds this huge story. It is amazing, and it's actually responsible for really turning me on to Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition. So I can't recommend this podcast enough. Even if you don't like 4th edition, even if you're one of the guys who's like 3.5 was the best and 5 is only good because it's not 4th. Fine, that's okay. Still listen to this podcast because it's really good.
Yeah, I'm a person who got introduced to D&D with 2nd edition, and I fucking hated it, and I didn't care about through 3rd or 3.5, and I didn't care about 4th edition. 5th edition is where I came back into it, but that shouldn't fucking matter, especially with this podcast, because I kind of see this podcast the same way as I see like Warhammer 40k lore. I don't care about the additions or how Games Workshop just, especially right now in the year of our Lord 2017, is just rewriting a whole bunch of shit in Games Workshop, which, goddamn it, I just need to fucking rant about that in a fucking episode one of these days, because what the fuck, KDFL, how the fuck did that happen? Fuck you, Games Workshop. But yeah, so yeah, whatever edition of D&D shouldn't fucking matter, because Critical Hit is just a good fucking podcast. Go listen to it, especially if you're a fan of the Adventure Zone, because as far as I'm concerned, the Adventure Zone podcast just ripped off this podcast. So go listen to the original. It's better. And fuck you, Games Workshop. God damn it. How the fuck does Katie fall? God, I need to gather my thoughts. I need to gather my thoughts about Warhammer 40K, because so much shit is changing right now in Warhammer 40K. And it's making me very upset. God damn it. Now I know what it feels like when Twilight Sparkle got her wings. Now I know how upset people were. I understand their pain.
All right, why don't you give us your last piece of cool shit?
Okay. Really quick, I just remembered that I had to make a logo for our podcast for the YouTube channel. So I just made one in about 30 seconds. So I posted it up in the Discord if you want. Okay. Is that acceptable for 30 seconds?
Yeah, why don't you just put it in all the episodes? Don't even like color it or ink it, just as it is right now. Just like that on every YouTube video.
Okay, let me explain it, because most likely if you're listening to this right now, if you've listened to the previous 3 episodes, so you've had this creature staring at you. It's a creature I just made up for one of my art pieces, and it's called Monocat. And it's basically a cat with just one giant eye. And I feel like it's really suitable for FAPcast, because it's just, cats like to stare at you. And this is a cat that just stares at you while you fap. Even if you don't have a cat, this cat's staring at you. So, praise be it to Monocat. He's forever staring at you. Okay. Wait, did I close the tab for... Where the fuck is the tab for... Okay, here it is. Okay. I thought... I've got so many tabs open, I thought I closed the tab for our Google Docs for the show. All right. All right, my last cool thing is from a guy called Larry Bundy Jr. He's a dude on YouTube. He used to be like a legit like host for shows on British TV talking about video games back in the early 2000s, and now he's doing videos on YouTube, and he does really cool videos talking about the ins and outs of the video game industry. One of the things he was really famous for was his discussion and exposure of the Driver 3 controversy, which was almost completely wiped from the internet thanks to the game developer, because the fallout and disaster from that game was so bad that the developer and publisher tried to erase it from the internet. But this guy managed to find bits and pieces of it and forever remind us of how bad marketing in video games can be with Driver 3. So, but anyway, this video he just posted up a few hours ago here on March 5th was the final video of a series he was doing regarding how horrible it is to be a programmer, a games programmer. And the first video was about pissed off messages left by European game developers, and then the second video was pissed off messages left by Japanese game developers of video games, and now this final episode is pissed off messages left by US game developers of video games. It turns out if you crack open and look at the source code of a lot of old video games, you'll find messages from the programmers, and turns out quite a few of them were not happy with the job they were working in. And the interesting thing I've noticed now that he's completed all these videos finally, because it took him like a fucking year and a half to do them, was that you can see the priorities of just people from different areas. Like, his first video regarding European developers was the thing they would complain about most was other people in the industry. Like, they would bitch and moan about their bosses or people they had to work with, and just how much they fucking hated it and how they had to cut corners with code and shit. And then with the second video where he talked about Japanese developers, they in the comments of the source code, they would bitch about how they were mistreated at work, like how they were forced to work so many hours and they had to just, like, how they had great ideas for video games, but then they were canceled by the corporate bigwigs at like Konami and Capcom and Nintendo and shit. And just I'd say that the if I had to compare the three, the Japanese developers had the most legitimate reasons to be angry, because they had like corporate salarymen actively like try to stop them from making truly great things. And then with this final one, which is American developers, and somehow this guy Larry Bundy Jr. he managed to get like people like Mr. Medicure and Stamper from Newgrounds and the Duke Nukem guy, the VA for Duke Nukem, and also like a bunch of other people to basically just voice act for him the quotes from these American developers. And I'd say out of all the three regions, American developers are probably the most crazy, because they just bitch about life. Like there's this one in this one game, like from it was like an MS-DOS game, and this guy like bitches for he has like 500 words of comments, 500 characters in the source code of his game, where he just bitches about a grocery store that he shops at. And then another one is they look at the source code for Skullgirls, which I know of several people who listen to this podcast. They play Skullgirls, and there's lines in the source code from a programmer for Skullgirls where he bitches about how vendors and AnimeCon charge too much for the merch they sell. And it just really shows you the priorities of programmers around the world. It's like, by far, the people who have the most legitimate complaints are the Japanese, and then you have the Europeans, and then you have the Americans, who are just fucking insane, who are just fucking crazy. And I'm not kidding. Go watch the video. There's this guy from the Skullgirls programming team complains about a vendor selling fucking Daikamakuras.
All right, and with that, we wrap up our cool shit segment, and that wraps up. I don't think we actually said the number of this episode at the beginning. I wrote a fucking reminder to myself to say the name of the episode or say the number of the episode, the name of the podcast, and the names of the hosts. I think I forgot one. This has been episode. What episode is this? 4.
Episode 4.
Final draft is rolling in his grave right now. Because he's dead. That's the joke. He's dead. He's dead to me.
Yes. Adobe assassinated him after they found out he was pirating all their software.
You can find...
That's some meta shit right there, bruh. You get a fucking achievement if you remember that shit.
You can find our podcast at podcast at FAPcast.tumblr.com. I am in Bullshit. I have a Tumblr and a Twitter. You can find the links to those in the show notes.
And what name am I in right now? Oh, Endefmic. I am Endefmic. And you can find my art Tumblr, which is brand new, which I post artwork, which is very not safe for work. It has boobs and butts and various kinks involving non-human characters. Don't worry, it's not bestiality. There's still anthro. The fucking don't send your hounds after me, you fucking prudes. And then you have my other Tumblr where I post shit about politics and rants and stuff. And well, it might piss you off, it might not. But hey, you know, you don't have to fucking follow it. I don't give a shit. And then you have my Twitter account where I just post wherever retarded bullshit goes on in my day. Like talking about I don't fucking know what I post on Twitter. It's Twitter. Who gives a shit? And then you have my YouTube channel where I try to make creative, somewhat videos. And then you have my main website, dumpster.moe, which has links to all my social media that I can't be fucking bothered to talk about right here, right now. So just fucking go there. Which I know you won't, because you don't fucking care. I know how you think. You fucking dick. Bye! I need to find my... Where the fuck is my cursor? Oh, it's over there. Okay, this is why you shouldn't have more than one monitor. Because you lose the cursor very easily.